Hello and welcome. You're listening to Marketing Matters on Wharton Podcast Network, our weekly podcast where we analyze the latest in advertising, marketing, customer behavior, and new product launches. I'm Barbara Kahn, the Patty and J.H. Baker Professor of Marketing, and I'm joined by my co-host, Americus Reed, the Whitney M. Young Jr. Professor of Marketing and the Brand Identity Theorist. Hello, Americus.
Hi, Barbara. So, my middle name is Current Events. And that's what they call me. I'm just saying.
That's a terrible middle name.
Hey, I didn't make this up. This is what the people said. So, the 24-hour news cycle is, crazy and very important. And for us in marketing, we have to stay on top of like what's happening on a daily basis. And so what have we got today to sort of jump in and sort of understand in real time, Barbara, what's going on out there in terms of the marketing world and things that we should be very much aware of as marketing professors at the Wharton School?
Yeah, what's interesting is what's brand new news in marketing is probably not the big headlines in the New York Times, but we still consider it really important. And we have with us the senior reporter at Marketing Dive, our guest, Chris Kelly. Hello, Chris. Welcome to our podcast.
Thanks for having me.
And Chris, can I just say your look is fire, man. I love
the
glasses.
Like
dude, you're like the coolest guest ever. I'm just like, what's he going to say? I'm just like totally like, I'm on every word.
Forget it, Americus. You're not cool anymore.
I'm not cool anymore. I've been replaced.
There's room for all of us to be cool today.
I think you need glasses and maybe you need your beard back.
I need to up my game, Barbara.
Not that other beard. I hate that.
I know you didn't like it and it's gone, but I wish I could do what Chris is doing. He's got this. It's amazing. I mean, this guy looks like I just want to hear everything he has to say about the news.
Yeah. So, Chris, before we start talking about your stories, let's talk a little bit in case people don't know what Marketing Dive is. We never really talked about this before, but who is your audience for Marketing Dive? Do you write for the industry? Do you write for who is I know you do a deep dive into marketing stories and you have a particular beat that you might look at too, but I'm just curious, who reads Marketing Dive?
Yeah. So, Marketing Dive is a digital B2B pub. So our audience ideally is, the CMOs and leadership at major, Fortune 500s and major B2C brands and all the ecosystem around them. So the agencies, the ad tech, anyone education, anyone kind of interested in this space, from inside the industry, not really consumer side.
But the things you talk about, consumers are interested. So it's kind of like a professional look at what end users end up seeing. And today we were going to talk about some of your most recent articles. And just to that point, what you kind of write about is the why these campaigns are going, the marketing strategy behind the campaign, and then what the end user will see is just the commercial, or they'll see whatever they see, 30 seconds or different parts of the campaign. But you kind of get behind the scenes and talk a little bit about the why behind these different campaigns. And so you've written a bunch of stories in recent days on really big brands. And there's two that I really want to look into in case we don't have time to do all of them. I want to start with my favorite. And my very, very favorite one is the Sprite one with Jalen Hurts. That you wrote about, because we're from Philly, and it is football season. And Americus, you might have seen that Jalen Hurts was only voted, even though he won the Super Bowl, the 9th best quarterback. Did you see that?
I didn't see that. I would have been raging in the streets, Barbara. This is insane.
It's like, who do they think won that Super Bowl? It's just amazing. He was on some list of best Super Bowls. He was only number 9. And Philadelphians are crazy mad about it.
They're going to hear from us.
It's interesting to take a person like Jalen Hurts and have him be the spokesperson for Sprite. And I don't know how much you've covered the soft drink industry, but I assume you have, Chris. That's really seen a lot of movement. I mean, Pepsi used to be number 2. It's like number 4 now. Yep. I think Coke is number 1. Dr. Pepper's number 2. Yep. Then Sprite, I think, is number 3. And then Pepsi's number 4, something like that. And so this campaign, it's not small. What did you tell us a little bit about why you wrote this story and the background and everything you know about the Sprite Jalen Hurts story?
For sure. Yeah. So you're right. There is a lot of motion and movement in that space. Sprite did become number three, you know, carbonated soft drink, I think, in the US this year. After last year, Dr. Pepper moved up. So Pepsi keeps following, obviously, Sprite being a Coke brand, but, has its own identity. And a big part of that identity is this Obey Your Thirst campaign
Yes.
that the Americus, we remember from the 90s. This is a
Yes.
major part of their marketing that they brought back last year. They kind of did a modern take on the classic ads that had Grant Hill in them. Last year, they brought it back with Sha'Carri Richardson, the sprinter, and also Anthony Edwards, the basketball star. And yeah, and they've extending it into football now. They haven't done as much. It's been mostly basketball, hip hop culture, but yeah, moving into football and getting someone like you said, Barbara, a top quarterback in the league, a known personality, and making him the face of it. And having some fun kind of with his persona and what he deals with as a top quarterback.
So, Americus, have you seen this ad?
I have not seen it. Describe it to us,
Yeah,
Barbara.
yeah, or
Sure.
Chris, you can. I'll just tell you what
Yeah.
I say as an end user, and then you can say what the B2B
Yeah.
market is. But like, what's interesting about Jalen Hurts, if you know him and you follow Philly football, but why wouldn't you? He's a Super Bowl MVP, in my opinion.
I heard that.
However, he doesn't talk much.
Yeah, he's quiet.
And he gets asked a whole lot of questions, kind of dumb questions, and that's what they're playing on in this commercial and linking it to the persona of Sprite in some way. Chris, what is that like a fair analysis?
Yeah, no, you got it. I think it's funny. It's called Success Hurts, so they had a little play on words there. But it's a reporter named Thurston A. Sip, who hounds Jalen at every turn, from the press conference to the restaurant to the red carpet to even his tailor. He's got stupid questions like, do you have more ice in your veins or ice in your chains? And Hurts is basically stoic and goes like, who is this guy? Like, can we get rid of this guy? And it's and it builds up to that kind of classic Obey Your Thirst line of, if you want let your game do the talking, say less.
Yes.
You want a refreshing drink, Sprite. And so that's I think Jalen as being the poster boy of letting the field speak for it and not necessarily the persona is a lot of fun. And this really does contrast kind of with who they for the last year Sprite has made Anthony Edwards the star, and he's basically the 180. And I spoke with executives of Sprite that basically described them as yin and yang of kind of sports personalities. If you follow basketball, or the culture on that, is a big personality versus Jalen.
Yes. That's amazing.
It's kind of interesting if you think, like if you look at this again, like, does this campaign make sense? I don't know if it does or not. I love Jalen Hurts. So for me, it's celebrity endorsement and I kind of like the whole thing. It really appeals to me. But in this field of soft drinks, it's changed so much. Like you look at La Croix. I mean, they're now serving La Croix on American Airlines. It's kind of amazing to me. It's one of your choices. So it used to be Coke and Pepsi and maybe Dr. Pepper. Now La Croix is there, and Poppy and all these functional drinks, and moving away from colas. And like I said, number 2 is Dr. Pepper. Number 3 is Sprite, not Pepsi.
Right.
So you're moving into flavor. You're moving into functional. Is this idea, do you think this way of branding Sprite makes sense to link it to a celebrity like this?
Yeah, I think they, part of their effort is really, like we hear from all the brands, is, we're moving at the speed of culture. And really, it's not just Jalen Hurts holding up the bottle of Sprite and saying, drink it. It's showing him in all the ways that he's existing as an athlete, as a celebrity, as a black man, like the kind of different things he's dealing with, people asking stupid questions and expecting different things. And so they really have made it, and Sprite has made a big push around that, culturally. A lot of the, they've worked with East Side Golf and these other organizations that speak to different audiences, more diverse audiences. And so they've done a big thing on that. But like you said, it is the soft drink space, the beverage space has really mixed it up with the emergence of the, the functional beverages. And there's even kind of competition on their block. Pepsi has Starry, which they launched a couple years ago.
Yes.
Now, a week ago, we covered Starry. Basically, if it hits 100 degrees, they're giving away free drinks. And Sprite has made the temperature and their refreshing chill a big part of it. And
interesting.
Sprite, the executive I spoke to, AP Cheney, did not seem pressed. She said the competitors can do whatever they want. They're feeling pretty confident, Sprite.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, really having a strong point of view as people are reaching for different types of beverage.
I think it's very intriguing to Barbara's point, Chris. This idea of the Sprite brand is just so powerful. I mean, it basically, right, Barbara, it owns basically the clear lemon.
Pepsi has tried with all different stories its latest attempt,
Yeah.
but it doesn't ever seem to make a dent. And even 7-Up, which I used to think was a great brand, whoever drink, you don't see 7-Up anywhere anymore.
I don't see that on the menus. Yeah.
Seven down. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what, Chris, talk about this though, because it's something interesting, and Barbara weigh in on this as well. And that's the idea that, okay, we pick the winner, and we feel like this is Sprite talking. You corroborate if this is at all what the C-suite people said. But we pick the winner. We've got a really nice fit with a persona that is quiet, obey your thirst, do the work, all of that kind of stuff. I'm curious as to the idea of, well, we know it's going to help Sprite in Philadelphia because we love Jalen Hurts. And we love the tush push, and we love, all that stuff. But what's the thought process of beyond the geography? In other words,
he is a Super Bowl winner.
He's a Super Bowl winner, but there, I mean, I don't know. There's a group of consumers out there that, in Kansas City, let's say, for example, who may say, you know what, maybe they don't have a negative reaction, but they have kind of a non-reaction. And I'm wondering the logic behind, what is the thought process of the expectation of, to Barbara's point, how far is this going to reach? And like, is it a thing where it's like, we're just kind of doing the cool thing because Jalen's hot, or is it like, no, he is good
looking. There's that.
He's a fantastic, fantastic guy. What are your thoughts on this, Chris, as a long-term, expectation of the strategy for the folks who came up with this idea?
Yeah, I think part of that, I think that's always a concern, these players that I'm sure they do their Q ratings and see who has, real positives, real negatives. And I feel like with the athletes that they've chosen, they're really picking ones that fit the brand. And we always hear about that, of finding the right fits and not, finding someone who speaks to their brand values and their slogans and all that. And I think they have that in Jalen. And, Barbara, I hope he plays the rest of his career for your sake in green and white, but I think, and which also matches nicely with the Sprite.
I forgot about that. That's good.
I'm thinking of that now, but I think they're looking at these as players as kind of celebrities on, in their own sphere, regardless of the team, and kind of looking for these cultural figures who kind of go beyond sports.
Like talking about celebrities, I wasn't going to do this next one because I just can't wait to do dude wipes. Maybe given what you just said, we should do McDonald's because that's another really big industry. But the reason that I thought it was interesting is the choice of celebrities that they chose for that. So do you want to talk a little bit about that campaign?
Sure. Yeah, no. So I kind of did a bigger dive into this area of QSR and fast food right now. Is this kind of reignited chicken wars we saw it a few years ago with the chicken sandwiches that everyone was going crazy for, and a lot of competition. In this, the McDonald's did bring back the snack wraps, which had a fan favorite, had been off the menu for a few years. But as they announced it, other brands trying to get in on it. Popeyes try to beat them to market. Taco Bell has made a chicken a big part of their push, and the campaign. Some of the campaigns they did here with the McDonald's did with the snack wrap made up a new character named Unk, who's played by Hassan Johnson from The Wire, as the the older guy, the uncle who knows this stuff and has to educate the youngins about the snack wrap that we used to get on the dollar menu, and gives the cosign. And so they kind of went a different way and kind of made a new brand character instead of just an actor who's recognizable, but he's that guy. He's not a brand name.
Yeah, but it's definitely targeting the African American consumer market in this, like with that ad, that's at least what you said in your article. So like bringing in the Wire actor, that's like a really different kind of way of promoting a product. Unlike, to America's point, I think Jalen Hurts is America's sweetheart. It's
big
like
time.
Super Bowl is a broad audience, where this seems like it is a little bit more targeted.
For sure. And they did this with Translation, which just signed on as their African American agency of record. They've done work with them before around the Big Mac. They did the now iconic "I'm Loving It" jingle,
Yeah.
uh, which was written by Timberlake and Pusha T. Gotta get my music knowledge in there, but
Nice.
so
Nice.
they, yeah,
Audiophile. Very nice.
so they, yeah, I think they are looking for, specifically in this, they did a big push around the culture of you know the snack wrap itself and what fans have been asking for on Twitter for years. But this TV push is definitely more targeted around consumer groups.
And the other thing that's funny, it's McDonald's. You think of that as a hamburger company, but this is all about chicken.
Chicken.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess it's competing, with the chicken retailers or quick service restaurants and things. How well does McDonald's do in that
Good
segment?
question. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they have made it a big part. I think this is definitely want to loop in my colleagues at Restaurant Dive. I think the chicken price versus beef price. I think there's a big push restaurant wide to kind of get into more on the chicken side. But it has been it's really what consumers want. We saw like with the chicken sandwiches, it's a really competitive space with but yeah, the fact that McDonald's, I mean, I think Taco Bell doing nuggets and chicken strips and stuff is even
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
That's
chicken
good.
spot. So I mean, it
Yeah.
has gotten competitive, and then your traditional ones like Popeyes and KFC also reasserting that this is their domain for sure.
Gotcha. And let's not I'm sorry. I grew up in Atlanta, Chris.
Yeah.
And so I have to put in Chick-fil-A because
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A, by the way, you just got to Google some of the economic analyses around the average revenues of their stores. And they're closed on Sundays, so they give up 52 sales days per year. And they're
Right.
doing pretty well, right? So
Yeah. And also a really strong brand voice. I mean, they still have the Eat More Chicken cows. My kids
yeah.
love those. They still have those
Yeah,
up. And even as and we've seen, a lot of this chicken war stuff has been the kind of sparring. Popeyes did a diss track, and they're trying to, have some fun at each other's expense,
Nice.
coming for the big dog of McDonald's. But
Nice.
other brands have tried that. They've tried ads around and campaigns of "We're open on Sundays."
Oh,
And
interesting.
because people, I think Chick-fil-A has a really strong brand loyalty, and I think like you said, they even giving up those days, they still year-over-year sales always pretty strong.
Very, very cool. Yeah. And the other thing that's interesting, Barbara, I just have to, can I tell you, I love this. It's serendipitous because I used Dude Wipes like an hour ago so we're gonna get to my skin. Chris, we're gonna get to my skin regimen a little bit later to Barbara.
Okay.
But real quick, Barbara and Chris, like the idea of like bringing in celebrity influences, give me the high level risk analysis that says, okay, we love Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is low risk because he's a good guy, he's a family man, and so on and so forth.
He doesn't talk much either.
He doesn't talk much. So just talk us through the risk profile analysis that says we're going to bring in an AD or maybe an Antonio Brown or like one of these sort of like firecrackers.
Yeah.
Talk us through that. Like, how do they manage that? How do the folks, sort of deal with that? Is it all in the contract? I mean, what's that process look like?
Some of that's still in the black box to me. I think they definitely, sometimes I think this with Jalen will be their first foray. This is the first NFL player they've done a deal with. So I think it's probably a low risk, maybe high reward for them. They've done the basketball space a lot, so they maybe know what to expect.
Interesting.
AE, it's all out there. So it seems that maybe, where it's like, well, people know what they're getting. You already know how you feel, so they're not worried about any skeletons or anything. He's out there, and and they've done other ads. They had done some ads, speaking of kind of a framing around an unk. He did some ads with Kevin Garnett, and they let them, when I spoke to them about that previously, they let them kind of ad lib a little bit and just make it actually seem like it's not two guys just once again just holding up the Sprite bottle. So I think it is a risk analysis for sure.
Interesting.
All right, Americus, you ready?
I'm so excited. Here's the thing, Chris, and you help us unpack this because I am on record, Barbara, on Twitter years ago saying this is the dumbest idea in the world. The notion of a sort of slack-jawed cretin of the dude kind showing up with wet wipes, it's never going to work. Barbara Kahn, I was wrong. I was totally wrong. So help us unpack the dude wipe phenomena. Chris.
Yeah, Chris. So this is a wet wipe, and it's We're talking about targeting now. It's targeting dudes, right?
Dudes.
Sure.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. No, I've had some. I'm with you on their branding and the kind of the dude of it all. But they haven't really. They've had some fun campaigns, and I wrote up this one recently. Did on the evolution of wiping. It's a 30-second spot. It's it's an edutainment. They take it to a museum. They show you the history, maybe
Interesting.
what cavemen were doing, and then
Or not doing.
or not doing, maybe using a tree or a pine cone, and then they put toilet paper in that same under glass. Can you believe people used to do this? And then they take in their way that they approach this. They took, of course, a mission to Uranus, and they demonstrate the future of wiping, which is the dude wipe. And yeah, and I think a lot of people from their name or their business model, they've passed. I was talking to their CMO, and they recently passed Cottonelle in dollar share of omni-channel sales. They see
Wow.
more growth in the future. They're doing kind of product extensions, different lines. So there does seem to be something here, but they do have a lot of fun with the idea of wiping and
Can't imagine marketing this any other way. Here's a situation where if you're going to go into this category and you can't do it with humor, I just can't imagine how it's going to work.
and you can't do it with the bears in the wood. I mean, there's like very recognizable things. No, and I mean the Charmin has nailed that down, and they have that very
Can't do
family.
bears in the woods.
And they've had as they spoke about this, they had what they can do as they move into traditional linear TV, what they can actually say. They had, if Venus didn't work, they said they were going to go a mission to the moon. They have to kind of think through how they can actually do this. And get it back to football, they just recently, this happened after my piece published, but they became a sponsor of the Cleveland Browns, who are doing an all brown uniform and helmet.
Oh my God, that's a weird sponsorship for dude wives.
So they really
dear.
I mean, they really have looked for these opportunities. They
That
really
could go in a lot of different directions.
I mean, it goes the one direction you think, and they really they know what they are, and they aren't really afraid of it, and it seems to be working. And I was at a last weekend or 2 weeks ago, I was at a concert for my other work I do with Washington Post, and they had outside the men's rooms, they had big free samples of dude wipes, and people were taking handfuls because it was
That's
a
incredible.
long weekend at the the festival. The product is the product.
That's amazing. I love the point. Sorry to interrupt, Barbara. The brand identity point. I just want to touch on this really quickly and get your reaction to this, Chris and Barbara, because part of what the hypothesis was why Americus was so wrong when he predicted that this is not going to take off and get any sort of traction was the idea that there's latent demand for men to use these products. But when they go in there and they just don't want to pick up the pink thing or the baby blue thing or the thing that's marketed for babies. And it was like, is the opportunity to say it's out there, but give them a permission structure to level up their wiping evolution. And this is what happens. I mean, is there any credibility to that, or is that just post hoc, delusional?
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I actually do think that makes a lot of sense.
What are your thoughts, Chris?
I think that's exactly what they did. I think they looked at a product. These were three guys. They were college roommates, I believe, is their origin story, and they were buying, big packets of baby wipes at Sam's Club, and they were like, there's got to, but they were baby wipes, and there's got to be a market here. We're the market, just really regular guys, and to move away from some. It's kind of the reverse, the pink tax of the idea that the women's product is separate. I mean, of kind of going back and backfilling the market and changing who's doing the shopping, and identifying they want to. There have been some, you kind of see some kind of lookalike products and getting in this kind of dude bro space, but they do have fun with it. They're not. I was a little dubious as well, but there's a big wink on a lot of this stuff.
That's interesting.
They did definitely open it up to a different consumer group.
So we only have a few minutes left, and let me end with your last story on JCPenney. But before we go to that, not your last story, you write tons of stories, but the last one that we were going to cover. The three that we discussed before kind of break out of the cover with some clever campaign, like Jalen Hurts is definitely getting your attention. Dude wipes will get your attention. The whole chicken wars thing is they've been pushing so much hype about all of that. But now you got JCPenney's, which is like, I just sigh when I think of JCPenney's. What are they going to do now? And in general, this is a category that's in really tough shape. Like the tariffs have hurt it. The department stores are not doing well. The apparel market is really being hit from the low end, Temu and Shein and all those kinds of brands. It's just a really tough place. And so JCPenney's is trying to get back into a very critical market, or very critical time for department stores is back to school. And that's when people start shopping again in their category. It's really an important time. Christmas is important also, but back to school has got to be the second biggest season for them. And this is a time to come up with some kind of campaign that gets above the clutter. Do you think that they pulled that off with this campaign? What do you think about the JCPenney's campaign?
Yeah, I would definitely say that this one, which they're calling Back to It instead of just Back to School, kind of expanding the idea of everybody's going back shopping for school shopping, and mom's going to get something, dad's going to get something, shopping for kids too. You want to have a nice fall look or whatever it is. This is an extension. It's not as flashy as the other ones. It's got a fun construct they've been using this year. This Yes, JCPenney, which kind of it recognizes the sigh, it recognizes the problems they've had in this category and as a brand. And when they rolled this out, they did a lot of like, here's this designer look for $40. We have the receipts. And this idea that, yes, it is JCPenney. And the whole idea of these ads is you didn't just get a $200 outfit, you got the jealous look at the other moms at drop off, all for $200. So it's these like what you're also getting with that value. So like a very monetary value, but then also like a personal, value.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And the question is it going to pass? Like, are people going to believe they're going for style at a good price? But it is JCPenney. They admit, yes, it's JCPenney. There's a credibility issue here too. I don't know. Maybe it'll work, maybe not.
Barbara, what is your conceptualization of the JCPenney brand as it sits?
I think they've gone through a lot of misses, and it's a category that's tough to start with. Department stores are really tough. And if they don't get the exact right positioning, people are going to buy online. They're going to buy from these other brands that are cheaper. Maybe they'll go into more style. JCPenney's always been kind of stuck in the middle. I just wonder. I just think it's tough. Yeah. And I don't know how.
Well, it's also to your point, Barbara, and jump in on this, Chris, as well. It's also I love this line of logic that you're putting out there, Barbara, because it begs the question of, how do we start over? Do we say we're going to throw out the JCPenney name and just like, redo the entire slate, or do we, we try to modernize? Do we wait for older consumers to die so that younger consumers?
It's targeting young people too, and it's trying to make them, like he said, back to it. Yes, JCPenney, believe me, this is JCPenney, and it's trying to come out with it's a cool look. But it's JCPenney cool. I don't know.
Yeah, in my mind, to Barbara's point, Chris, jump in on this. It's like, I have a very robust understanding of what I think the JCPenney brand is based on my upbringing and how I interacted with the brand. So like changing Americus's mind will be very different than changing the 15-year-old's mind or creating a perception. Talk about this, Chris.
For sure, yeah. And I think, yes, JCPenney, they brought in, they had some kind of structural changes with the brand, but they brought in earlier this year Marisha Thalberg as a CMO. She did some really great work. The stuff that Taco Bell did a decade ago that really ignited a lot of this like cultural brand of people wanting to buy a sweatshirt with Taco Bell on it. That was a lot of the stuff she was doing there. She really brought a new energy to JCPenney. This first iteration they did, it helped boost in-store traffic. A lot of their ad awareness metrics went up. So they were seeing results. They did. And to speak of that online, it's obviously getting people to go to a department store versus their couch on their phone. It is different, but they've done these really big deals campaigns, which is very app-based, mobile-based, tying up with Jimmy Kimmel and stuff like that. So they are trying to like not throw the baby out with the bathwater. We've seen the rebrands that do that, and that everyone freaks out. And I think they are saying, for the people who are still about the brand, yes, it's JCPenney. And then for the people who aren't, it's really an inflection of like, Yeah, it's JCPenney. It's good, but you didn't think it was good. But here we are. So I think they're trying to have it both ways, and I think so far it looks like there's some equity here that they're playing from.
Well, we'll see how it does in the big back to school campaign season. Well, Chris, we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if people want to read these stories, where can our listeners go to keep up with you and your coverage of these marketing campaigns?
Please follow along, marketingdive.com. Go ahead and subscribe to our newsletters. We'll be in your inbox every morning and not much more. And that's the best way.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for being here.
Yeah.
Well, that's all we have time for today. So we'd like to thank our producers, typically Dion Simpkins and Marissa Renna. And thank you all for listening today. We'll be back next week. Until then, this has been Marketing Matters on the Wharton Podcast Network. I'm Barbara Kahn here with Americus Reed.